Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, everybody. It's a frigid morning here in Ames, Iowa, where I am located. But boy, is it nice out. I love the cold weather. How about you, Jackie? Do you like the cold?
It's a little nippy. It's in the 20s. I think it's about 24. And that's the coldest it's been for many winters.
In your part of the country.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, usually we talk about a guest with the guests and about their life in the 50s or the influence of the 50s into their lives. Today is a little different story. We have a mother-daughter duo who is going to tell us about what, Jackie?
This old house is the topic of our Fun Chat right now. And we're going to introduce you to that duo. Alison Swanson and her mother, Mary Beth, to some of you, Dreeszen, will be recalling the life of an Iowa family's home on a multi-generational farm. Now, Mary Beth was born in 1952. She graduated from high school in Anita, Iowa, and from Iowa State University with a degree in family and consumer sciences. She has experienced several careers, including the Iowa State Extension Service, a stay-at-home mom, and she has been in an HR department of the VT Industries, which is a manufacturer of commercial architectural wooden doors, countertops, and surfaces. So she married Roger in 1981, and 3 children resulted: Allison, Aaron, and Adam. Now, Allison was born in 1983 in Cherokee, Iowa, and grew up on her family's multi-generational farm. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And the name of the farm is called Rolling Hills. It's in rural Ida County, north of the town of Cushing, Iowa. She graduated from Galveston Holstein High School in 2021 and received her Bachelor's of Arts degree in journalism and mass communication from Iowa State University in 2005. She worked as the marketing and programs director of the Iowa Pork Producers Association from 2006 to 2012. Now, Allison's careers include being a stay-at-home mom and a classroom instructor with the North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom. Now, the classroom's goal is to help educators teach students about Iowa agriculture and its importance to our economy and society. Now, Allison married Jeremy Swanson in 2009, and they have 2 children, Jolie and Garrett. So, Mary Beth and Allison, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Yes. Hi, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Oh, we're glad to have you here. But now, since the topic of this chat is this old house, I invite either of you to begin the long history of the house that you and many generations have called home. So the floor is yours.
You want me to start or you?
Sure, start. And
Okay.
I'll interact.
Well, my great-grandfather, Rudolph Dreeszen, purchased Rolling Acres, which is the farm that we have called home. The Dreeszen family has called home for over 100 years. And he purchased this farm in 1919. And already on the property was the house, which we're not sure exactly what year it was built, the early 1900s, probably in the teens. And since then has gone down generationally in the Dreeszen family. So from Rudolph, it went to his son, Elvie, my grandfather. And to Elvie went to his oldest son, Roger, who was my father. And now my brother, Adam, is set to take over the farm. And actually he has been since my dad passed away in 2016. But currently he is remodeling the farmhouse. So it's over 100 years old and it's already, and we'll be talking about the different phases of construction that it's gone through. But he is currently making the house more modern. It needed some updates too, as far as electrical and plumbing and those things go, and making it a little taller for his 6'6" frame, because the Dreeszen family was not very blessed in the height department. But when the Kennedy genes came in, some height came in too. So my brother was an heir to that, I guess you could say. And so the doorways were, he would always have to duck to get through. And so since he's going to be living here, hopefully for the remainder of his life, he was upgrading it so he could feel more comfortable in his own home.
That is a wise move. Can you imagine going through life always having to duck down through doorways? I think it'd be so hard to live with. And interestingly, I'm wondering too, if it was so embedded in his mind to duck down, does he do that when he's in other people's homes? It just really.
Yes, he does.
Okay. So these doors were shorter. Were they also wider or more narrow than?
They were more narrow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep, I think is definitely a nod to the 1940s, 1950s architecture with the arched doorways and hallways. So yes, he's opening it more up now, kind of into that more modern scale.
So if he has an arch door, if there is an archway, is he going to keep the archways or make it more rectangular?
He's already taken them out.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
In remodeling, has he found any hidden gemstones in these walls, or even signatures or writing or notations of the years that this was done?
Yes, there was an article that was published in Farm newspaper and talked about how he found a couple of things that was of interest, including a receipt from a store dated back to 1913, I think. And wasn't there also something written in German that was tucked away? I don't remember. That he had said.
Signature of LB.
And then he did also, and I don't think I have the signature, but my grandfather LB put an addition on in 1954, and he had left a signature with pencil on one of the studs inside the wall that said remodeled by L.B. Dreeszen in 1954. Neat. And so then my brother signed right next to him, remodeled by Adam Dreeszen in 2024. So 70 years later to the date. Cool. So that was kind of cool because my brother never did get to meet my grandfather. He passed away when I was very young. Adam wasn't born yet. So I think this whole process of renovating the house and then finding that little treasure has brought him closer to him, even though he never got to meet him.
That gives me the chills when you talk about that, Alison. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That connection now to the generations.
Yes. So I can start showing you pictures of the phases of the house that it's been through. So this first picture is dated when my grandparents were married in 1946. So nothing really had been done to the farmhouse.
Okay.
Then
were they married in the farmhouse?
No, I think they were married where my grandmother came from, which was Vale, Iowa. And so, but they moved. This is where they settled after they got married in 1946. And my dad and all of his siblings grew up in this house.
That looks like a traditional Iowa farmhouse.
It sure does. Yeah,
it looks a lot like what my parents-in-law lived in for a while before they built their new house.
Yep. So they have the biggest change for the first part. You see these porches on either side of this would be the dining room. Those got closed in when my grandfather remodeled this in 1954. And he made it into just a longer living, like a bigger living space. And then this became an office. He enclosed that.
Okay.
And that, is this the one that it looks like? So then,
yes,
this is what it looked like after the remodel.
Did you always feel that you had, when you lived in there, either Mary Beth, with your family as young, or Alison, did you feel that you had enough space? You had too much space, or a lot of times when you live in something as a child, or you're used to the dimensions inside, it seems large, and then you go back as an adult and it seems small.
Sure.
Did you ever feel that way?
Well, they lived there since their birth, and so they really didn't know any different than I mean, all the years that they've been there, they've always lived in that space. But I don't know what they thought about, like when they married and are in a different space now. We never talked about that.
But when you and Dad married in 81 and you moved into the house, you realized that you needed a little bit more space.
Yes.
Right? There wasn't a bathroom on the downstairs level.
Oh, yes.
And there was only an upstairs bathroom. So that was something that we wanted to change, and you added.
Mm-hmm.
And you also added a bedroom to the main floor so that they wouldn't have to go upstairs to go to sleep.
And a nursery.
And a nursery
for
on
Alice.
the main level.
Yep. Were you and Roger able to make those remodels yourself, or did you have professionals come in and do it?
We had some professionals do the work. We're not savvy in that respect. I mean, I knew what I wanted, but as far as dimensions or whatever.
Yeah.
So this was an addition that they put on in the 80s. This was your bedroom.
Yes.
Yep. So they added a master bedroom to the main floor.
To the northwest.
Mm-hmm. And then they also added there was only a 1-car garage when my grandparents remodeled in 1954.
Mm-hmm.
So they added on a second garage, an extension to the garage to fit 2 cars in there after that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that, or does Adam see that there's going to be more that he wants to add on to the house?
Not necessarily add on, but he's definitely changing things. There was the original bathroom upstairs, and there was a small bedroom right next to it. So they knocked out the wall between, so they have a bigger bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I think that's the main change that they're planning on.
Okay.
How many bedrooms upstairs?
Well, there originally were 4 bedrooms. Now there will be just 3.
Well, that'll work.
Alison, as a child, what do you remember was the most fun thing about living in your house?
Fun thing.
I did love the space. We had a lot of room. I mean, my brother and I had our own bedrooms. Love the space to be together as a family. And the outside too, the farm. I feel like we were always outside exploring. Across the road was a little creek that ran through the pasture there. And I would always be playing down there, I think. And that was a really great, really nice memory. And we also grew up, there was a swing that was built there by my great grandfather. And it's a very interesting looking swing. I've never seen anything else like it, but this is what the swing looks like. And it's still standing there today.
Was it a glider swing that he put in there? Yeah, that's what's there. Oh, yes.
And so we have a lot of memories in this swing. I'm really trying to get my husband to duplicate these plans and build one for me at our house, but that might go beyond his expertise level.
There's nothing like a swing for relaxing.
Just a lot of memories in this, and then you can see there's a picture. This is actually my mom's dad, Kennard Kennedy.
Okay.
In the swing with Adam and I. So just a lot of, with friends and family visiting, we would gather in the swing or outside and enjoy the Iowa summers.
Yeah.
You bet.
Oh, Alison, in the house, are there any hidden spaces that only your family knows about that you would want to share with the rest of us?
No, my brother and I took a trip to the house last night, actually. He was showing me some, I guess, how the progress has been going in the house. And he showed me there was a very small closet that they built when they added the downstairs bathroom in the 80s. And when he started tearing that out, he thought he had found a secret compartment that would open, but it wasn't. So he was quite bummed about that. But no,
So
there
it was
really wasn't.
It was just a space that had. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Was that?
No, there wasn't really any spaces that we thought were secret or neat. Just but just a big house where we could, bumble around and.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And so did this old house, when this house was originally built, were there closets or were the wardrobes that were used for clothing?
Wardrobes.
Go ahead.
I believe they were just wardrobes used, because the only closet I remember, well, it was even before I moved there, was a closet space built by my father-in-law. And the other bedrooms did not have closets.
Uh-huh.
So even downstairs at the front door, no to hang coats.
Okay.
Was there a coat tree?
They built a closet, I believe, in the master bedroom downstairs.
Okay. Well, I think
that was very old. I mean, that was not the original closet.
Well, in our time, I remember when we had company, of course, this was in the early 50s, and when Mom and Dad built our house, it was just expected that if people came and they had coats on, you just lay them on the bed, and that worked.
Yeah. Well, our front door did have a closet off of it.
But we never used the front door. That's the
we used it for something else.
Yes. What, Mary Beth, when you became engaged to Roger, how did you feel about moving to Rolling Hill? Is Rolling Hills, is that the name of your farm?
Yes, Rolling Acres.
Rolling Acres, thank you.
Oh.
Well, at the time, my father-in-law was in the Senate, and so they knew that they needed to keep somebody on the farm to take care of the cattle. And the likeliest person to do that was my husband. And so we were not forced to get married, but it was perfect timing that Roger took over the farm, and that's where we were going to have our family and live there. Did
you crop farmed as well as had livestock?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. And so Roger took over the entire farming operation?
Yes, his brother was part of the partnership.
Okay.
He took care of the hogs at that point, and Roger had all of the cattle.
Well, you have a very interesting story, Mary Beth, about some wonderful visitors who came to your farm. Can you tell us about that?
Well, we have located some information about the time that the Russians came to visit Rolling Acres. And we're not sure how that came about. We just think that since my father-in-law was involved in politics and soil conservation and other livestock producers groups, that he must have gotten nominated to have the Russians come visit his farm and facilities and see how he did his terracing in the fields and how he handled his livestock with silo feeding systems and so on. So
did Roger ever talk about that?
Oh, yes. But he was quite young then. How old was he? 8?
In the newspaper articles, he was 8 years old when they came.
He was 8
in 1955.
But he remembers it. Yes, his siblings not so much.
Was there quite a bit of publicity in your area about these?
Well, we think there's a couple of newspapers. At one time, Ida County had 2 different newspapers, and we think both of them covered the incident of the Russians coming to Rolling Acres.
Yes, the headline for the Ida County Pioneer Record in July 28, 1955 says 200 persons jam farm for look at visiting farm delegation from Russia. So 200 people, and I know that a lot of neighbors and family came from, I know family came from far and wide, but neighbors came and waited until the Russians arrived on a bus, an air-conditioned bus.
The Russians were coming.
Yes, in a good way.
Yes, so they were a small farming delegation from Russia that was just visiting Iowa for 12 days, I think it was, there in 1955. So they were just traveling the state of Iowa, looking at everything agriculture and taking notes and bringing it back to their country, as far as I gathered from reading these articles. And
Was there ever anything said about the preparation that your family did on the farm in order before these guests came? Sure.
Well, I know that they had to serve refreshments to them when they arrived. I'll have to go grab it quick while Mom's talking, but there was they served them donuts and coffee because they arrived at 10:30 in the morning. And probably a lot of cleaning. I don't think we were told that they never did go in the farmhouse. They stayed outside the whole time because as soon as they got there and had the refreshments, they got whisked away on a tractor and a flatbed trailer to take them around the farm and tour. So they were not there very long, but it was still, I think, quite an honor for the family.
Oh, yes. Yes. Do you know that if they went to other farms in the area or within Iowa?
Not in the area in Northwest Iowa. It did not in the article say anything about visiting other farms. They went to Sioux City, which is about 40 miles east of the farm. West. Sorry, I live east. West of the farm off of Highway 20. And they visited some ag businesses there for a little bit until they got on a plane and flew to Des Moines for their next activity, which was a vodka party.
Oh, a vodka party. Okay.
For Russians.
Did they tour a potato farm? Because that's what is needed for vodka.
No,
Right.
we are mostly corn and beans.
But that's what vodka
And
is.
I know, but I don't know what vodka's made of, but
Potatoes.
not potatoes.
Yeah.
No, we're the corn and beans. And
Yeah. Okay.
hay, some hay for the livestock. And
Here's a picture of some of the Russians eating donuts in the yard.
Okay.
Grandmother Norma is in the white dress right here, serving everyone. I don't recognize anybody else in the picture, and the only reason I know that is because it's written on the back of the photo that that's her. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known.
Did the Russians know English well? Did your grandparents ever say?
It said they had a translator there, but I don't think a lot of them probably knew a lot of English.
Sure. Yes.
I've never seen that picture.
I'm going to move into today's world of agriculture and how agriculture, you talked about conservation methods that your grandfather used in his farming operation. How has that changed, or has it grown to include more opportunities for conservation of the land?
Well, my son is trying to keep up with the Joneses, I guess you could say, about different, more modern practices of he's taking out some of the no-till and the terraces. He thinks he wants to take those out, but they were there for a purpose, is what I say. So we're still talking about that. But yeah, he's trying to keep up with the equipment and the fertilizers and the herbicides. And that's something that the earlier farmers really didn't do that much of.
Yes.
My husband works out nice. He's an agronomist and owns his own agronomy consulting business. So I know he and my brother talk often about what should be done. Like my husband's company has done soil sampling on our farm, on the family farm, and kind of make some recommendations to Adam on what would be good to increase yield while also protecting the soil and keeping those conservation methods in mind that my grandpa instilled too. So I think it's a perfect match, and Adam's doing a great job at moving forward and trying to keep the farm sustainable.
Well, there's always
he's
something
lucky.
to
He's
learn.
very lucky to have an agronomist in the family.
Did either of you ever have to walk beans or detassel corn?
I did with my husband, but not as a business like some people did. I mean, they did it all day long, but I did some. It just happened that I was expecting a baby at that time, and I at one point said, enough, I'm not going to do it anymore.
That's a great excuse.
How about you?
I remember walking beans with Dad, where we would have the sharp hooks. And while I was sorting through photos for today's chat, I found a picture of my cousins and I on the bean bar that my dad would drive. And I was telling that to my kids one day about how, you're lucky we don't have to go out and walk beans and ride the bean bar. And they're like, what's a bean bar? And I had to Google a picture of it because they wouldn't believe me that we were sitting on this bar in seats in front of the tractor with a gun loaded with
Poison.
Yeah, poison to kill these weeds. So I guess that's a special memory for my generation. Not so much like my children coming up will know what that was like.
Yeah, things have changed, haven't they? We didn't do anything like that in our farm in North Dakota because we just had small grains. But when I moved to Iowa, moved to Iowa, I was always kind of astounded that you had to actually physically go out there and walk through those bean fields and get those weeds killed. It was just an eye opener to me. And we did that, and it was very stressful to do that.
Always hot weather.
Always, yes.
Whenever I see a button weed, I will always remember my dad. He would curse those button weeds. And
yes. And anymore, if I see a buttonweed and it just anywhere, I'm just after it.
Me too.
It's ingrained in us, I think, after a while. Going back to the house, is there anything in today's lifestyle? Is there anything that you would change, either of you would change if you were living in it again?
Well, I think we forgot to mention the last remodeling phase after the 80s. In 1997, Mom and Dad put on an addition. They added 12 feet out to 8 feet to the south of the house and expanded the kitchen. So that's what the house currently looks like now. You can see that renovation. That's my brother and my sister-in-law and their baby standing in front of the house as it is today.
Nice.
And this is the addition that Mom and Dad put on in the late 90s to accommodate for a bigger kitchen.
And is that where the table is placed, in that little alcove?
Yep, in that little alcove.
Yeah.
Yep.
That really.
So that's kind of funny when we were talking about. Did we ever think the house was small while living in it? The kitchen was rather small. That hadn't been changed since the 50s. And my mom decided, hey, let's expand this kitchen, make it more available for entertaining, for a family gathering, and where we have room to walk around each other. Because she was always trying to cook supper, and I felt like my brother and I were roller skating around the table, and there's just no room for that. And so my grandmother, who lived in the house prior to my mom and dad moving in, would always comment that, oh, the kitchen wasn't big enough for Mary. So I used to have the biggest kitchen in Douglas Township, but wasn't big enough for Mary.
Well, everyone's different. And I think every woman loves, at least I shouldn't say every woman loves her kitchen, but it's kind of her castle. At least it is for me. The saying is that the home is a woman's castle, but for me, it's always the kitchen because I love being in there.
It's also included an office, so we had an office in there, plus the kitchen and the dining room. It seemed like we spent most of the time in the kitchen because of the different activities and so on. I think I counted 72 knobs for doors and cabinets. I used every one of them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of farmhomes, the activity centers around the kitchen.
They still do. Yeah, when people come over, you sit in the kitchen.
Yes, indeed.
And as my brother and sister-in-law are remodeling, they're not really changing the flow of the kitchen how Mom designed it back in the 90s. So it worked rather well. They're basically keeping the cabinets that you put in. And
were there appliances from the 50s that were still in your home, Mary Beth?
No, we basically had everything on the same level. The laundry was still on the first level when we started to remodel that. We added a shower and half bath. Well, then it would be a full bath if it had a shower, but added that so that when Roger came in from taking care of livestock, that he could just take off his stinky clothes and take a shower before he entered the family space. But other than that, we had all the appliances. We had air conditioning. We had I think this is okay. we had, what do you call it? The thermal heating system,
Oh, the heat pump?
heat pump. We had that put in the 1900s, like 1990. That was
Okay. Yes. Yes.
so. That's where that came from. Otherwise, it was fuel oil furnace. So that's the only change we made as far as that goes.
Do you remember when the home received running water and septic system?
Oh, I do not know that. I mean, it was before Roger was a baby, so it had to have been at least in the 40s, maybe earlier.
My brother actually just stopped by and handed me this photo that he had found. And it's a picture of the kitchen in the 1950s when the Russians came. But there's my grandfather, Elvie, sitting at the kitchen table with my aunt, Carolyn, who was 5 months old, on his lap, and my grandmother cooking in the kitchen.
Boy, that looks like a traditional 1950s style kitchen, doesn't it? And the stove, how fun is that?
Yeah, metal cabinets.
Yes. And were they red countertop, white cabinets, red countertops?
Something dark. I don't remember what color they were. Dark green. I don't know.
Doesn't say, but it under the tagline under the photo says, "This Iowa farm family has a comfortable modern home with all conveniences: automatic washer, electric stove, home freezer, television."
Yeah. What about telephone?
Oh yes, they did have telephones.
All right.
What I noticed, it looks like your grandmother was wearing a dress with a sweet little apron. Did she always wear a dress in the farm home?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Or that could be an apron.
Skirt and blouse.
Oh yeah, I think she was always, the pictures that I've seen of her on the farm, she was always wearing a skirt and blouse.
And Grandpa has on bibbers.
Yep.
Always life.
There's the pigs out in the pen. And
did your mom have a large, or your grandma have a large garden?
Yes.
She did a lot of canning too.
Yes, she was a good gardener.
Yes. A loving home. That's for sure. Well, I'm great. What is, Mary Beth, each of you and Allison, what is the most fun thing, I'm going to call it a thing, and it leaves it wide open, that you remember from living in that farmhouse?
Well, gosh, that's a tough question. Just being able to host family and friends in that area. It didn't seem crowded at all. And so we welcomed people to join us in certain events. And so I guess that was fun. And also work, of course. You know how it is to get ready for an event, but company.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was just a nice space to live in.
Good.
Yes.
Allison?
Yes, I remember, well, because many generations had grown up in that house, like my dad's cousins and aunts and uncles grew or would get used to coming to the house for Christmas or Thanksgiving celebrations. So they would always enjoy coming out to the farm and reliving the memories that they had for family holidays out there. And even when they would visit from out of state, they would, I mean, it kind of felt like coming home to them, I think, to come visit us at Rolling Acres. Even people from out of the country, we had a few foreign trainees that would come help out at the farm in the late 80s and 90s and became like family. And they hold special memories of this place in their hearts as well. So I think it's not only a very special place for us as a Dreeszen family, but for many other friends and around the world too. I think it's just pretty special that, I mean, there's been a lot of joy there. There's been some sorrow. It's all wrapped up in the walls that are still there. So I just think that's fantastic.
How many times have you driven by other farm homes and have said, "Oh, if those walls could talk"? Well, now the walls of your home have spoken. And it's been wonderful. Thank you so very much for this conversation. It's been great to get acquainted not only with you, but your home as well. That really reflects who people are and who they become in life. So thank you very much, ladies.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah.
How can you close our program?
Well, I'd like to draw attention to the book that's on my screen. While the Windmill Watched, A Slice of Rural America in the 1950s was published by Janine and Jackie. Janine Pfeiffer Knopp and Jackie Pfeiffer McGregor. That's us. And we'd ask you to pick it up and read something about rural life. Now, if you grew up in rural life, you will know that some of these things will be familiar. If you did not, this book will open up a whole new world to you as far as what kind of rural life in the 1950s. And this took place in North Dakota, 10 miles east of Bismarck. However, it could have taken place in Iowa or in Nebraska or in Washington, wherever you find rural life. So until next time, tell your friends, even your relatives, about this 1950s fun chat.
Yes.
Until next time, toodaloo.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Best
You're
wishes.
Bye.
Mhm.